We're live. Do I need that? Not if I'm just cycling through. Yep. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Getting things squared away. Had a couple more pieces of the puzzle here that I wanted to get to, but we're just not going to get there. We got to go live. We got a live to do. Check for one more. Oh. Okay, let's do this. How you guys doing? It's Taco Tuesday. Man, the chat's already going. You guys are saying stuff. Good for you. Let me get the intro squared away. I've got an update on Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin is back. He's apparently running a generator in the park. Again, I've got a text into Andrea Suarez of We Heart Seattle asking if he has a tent, because I need to know. I need to go down there, and if you don't remember this story, it's the Seattle mining man that drove the excavator into the park, and I did a live stream. And then second part of that story is at the end of one of the live streams where I went and interviewed mining man or logging man, however you want to call him. We went kind of down the hill into a homeless encampment with Andrea, and there was a woman there. Well, she was in a tent. We couldn't work out if she was going to the hospital. She's somebody's girlfriend, somebody's wife, just had a whole lot of stuff going on. We couldn't figure out what was happening. Anyway, last weekend, Andrea Suarez sends me a text and says, yep, that encampment just burned down. It burned to a crisp. So I've got some footage of that. So moral of the story there is when Andrea Suarez says that it's a ticking time bomb, it literally is. And so we've got some footage on that. But let's get into our first story here. We'll roll the intro and then we'll record. Thanks for being here. Did you guys notice any of the oh man, what was it? Congress's hearings on the dude that wrote up the report for the Her inquest. He was the one that said, yeah, Biden's a nice old man. We don't, he wouldn't have stolen those documents for his own benefit. He's just a nice old man. He doesn't, his cognitive abilities aren't that great. So let's not punish him further. The guy's running the free world, right? I mean, it's craziness. Let's get into this one. This law would have been just a real head scratcher coming out of California. State of California is considering a bill that would provide grants, money for illegal immigrants, newcomers, charged with violent crimes. Hey, getting in some legal trouble there, Sparky? We got money for you because you're an illegal. Huh. Now, do regular residents get that? Oh, no, they got to come up with their own or take a public defender. It's what we're doing. What's going on with this Looney Tunes bill in California? Let's get into it. Here we go. All right. I'm going to go this bad boy, and we're going to watch a little video. Okay, take that off.
Taxpayer funds to protect violent.
Watch a little video.
Illegal immigrants. I'm not kidding, from deportation. Our next guest says enough is enough. California Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez joins us now. Assemblywoman, thanks so much for joining us. So what would this bill do?
So it would give hardworking, first of all, Brian, thanks for having me. It would give hardworking taxpayer dollars to fund and expand a program that would allow criminals, illegal alien criminals that have been convicted to stay in California. And not only that, it would expand it to those across the United States that express the intent to come to California to live.
So I understand it was put on the floor yesterday. People are working this bill.
Yo, coming to California. I need some money. Will you help me out? I'm a convicted felon. You're our guy. Come on, Callie. Let's go. And this is literally what you've got going on.
Well, President Biden campaigning
nuts.
in battleground New Hampshire, a state he won by 7 points.
Here we go. Oh, that got screwed up.
Joins us now. Assemblywoman, thanks so much for joining us. So what would this bill do?
So it would give first of all, Brian, thanks for having me. It would give hardworking taxpayer dollars to fund and expand a program that would allow criminals, illegal alien criminals that have been convicted to stay in California. And not only that, it would expand it to those across the United States that express the intent to come to California to live.
So I understand it was put on the floor yesterday. People are working this bill. This has got a shot?
So, okay, we saw this bill late Saturday night amended and pushed through the Judiciary Committee, which we would have seen this morning. However, the author has pulled the bill because we sounded the alarms and involved the community and the people of California, and the response was overwhelming. So as of now, it's shelved. It's not dead, but it's shelved.
So
we need to stay vigilant and engage in this process.
Absolutely. I mean, it shouldn't even been proposed. It's unbelievable that the person thinks that there'll be a resonance for it. So the definition of violent serious crimes in California: murder, rape, assault with a deadly weapon, and kidnapping. So let's give that person some cash to rehab themselves. One of the sponsors had this to say, Reggie Jones-Sawyer, and here is the quote: "As long as I have been in the state office, I've worked towards ensuring that people are given a second chance. The Rep for All Immigrants Act ensures racial justice and truly equitable access to crucial immigration services for all, even people that don't belong here, even criminals that show they shouldn't be here."
I have to tell you, honestly, our California voters and people across the nation deserve transparency. They deserve to know their hardworking taxpayer dollars are going, especially times such as now, are going to things that we want to reward in California, not to expand a program that would have allowed convicted illegal immigrants to stay here. This is just, it blows my mind. Honestly, it was one of those bills that you have to read 2 to 3 times. And it was shocking all the way through.
If I was to put a number on how many in the Assembly were prepared to vote for this, do you have an idea?
Well, everybody up until last night, around 10 or 11, were prepared to vote for this today. And in fact, I think it's a good testament to the people, the public that got engaged, that got involved and engaged early, that they put a shelved this bill. So, I mean, I would just say it's incredible. Let's keep it up, and we need to stay vigilant on these kind of bills that are coming through California, because it affects the nation eventually.
What an embarrassment that it was offered. Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez, thanks for bringing attention to us and getting up early for us today. Thank you.
So it's my understanding that that happened this morning. Oof. Those Fox articles, they auto run, so they just come on board, even if I've got something shut off over here. Crazy. All right. So it's my understanding that all went down last night. I ran this this article yesterday. I'm looking through it going, what in the world are we doing? I've been asking pretty repeatedly, what's the whole point of bringing in all these illegals? So many of you said, hey, redistricting, more people account for in areas that, so basically going to rework the way congressional districts are aligned is, a super compartmentalized version of that. So they're trying to cook the books on elections is what so many of you think. And when you see something like this, when you see a proposed bill like this, it kind of makes you think, yeah, that pretty much falls in line, because what other reason would you give? I mean, if you want to throw out the whole concept of, well, Sean, everybody needs a second chance. And I'm okay with that to a point, but to be giving money to people that already came into the country illegally and should probably be booted, and now you're setting up basically a legal fund for them. I mean, that is that is mind blowing at best, right? Mind blowing at best. So it's kind of like, what are we even doing here? Let's get into this article. But this is literally, this happened last night, and this is one of those deals where you're like, what? How does this happen? How are these bills even being proposed? You're going to do what now? How many thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people do you have that are homeless, and you're going to be diverting funds to people that, you know, came into the country illegally and then are convicted of an illegal act? Yeah, rape? I mean, let's give them some money. This should be a good idea. Shenanigans, right? These are legal shenanigans. There's no other way to come up with it. Seeing some nutty stuff. You are seeing governments go either one way or the other. Got an interesting story on Seattle City Council. Seattle City Council is holding its own in terms of being reasonable because they've got some new leadership and they've got some people that are like, yeah, we're not doing that. They're arresting protesters. I mean, we're going to watch some of that. Let's read this article. A new California bill aims to use grants to help illegal immigrants convicted of violent crimes with legal assistance in the United States. What more do you need to know? This is insanity. This is just, I'm sorry. Excuse me? Do you remember that? It's like, it's so ridiculous. You have to ask that question. Excuse me? What are you talking about? Who came up with this? Well, the bill was introduced in February by Democratic Assemblyman. Could you imagine a Republican coming up with, yo, Bob, did you lose your effing mind coming up with this bill? What are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Off my medication. It's about the only way you'd have a Republican come up with some horse crap like this, right? The bill was introduced in February by Democratic Assemblyman Reggie Jones-Sawyer, who sought to enhance California's immigration services program for all. For all criminals, because you're certainly not helping out the victims, right? You're certainly not helping out society, law-abiding citizens, the citizens that are paying into this program, the citizens that would be funding this program. That you're not really yet enhancing all or anyone in that little process there. For as long as I have been in state office, I have worked towards ensuring people are given a second chance, even though they raped and murdered somebody. But I mean, they're mostly reasonable people and have championed efforts to prevent people from being treated as second-class individuals, Jones-Sawyer said. The Rep for All Immigrants Act ensures racial justice and truly equitable access to crucial immigration services for all, not some. Okay, but hey, what else do you say there? This is just some people getting in their own heads thinking, I think we can slide this one through. I've been reading a lot about how communities all across the United States are literally overturning all of that ridiculous crap that came out of the Summer of Love, not Lub. No, not Lub. You're seeing communities take a hard stance on crime. You're seeing them, not that it's going to do anything for the elevated, criminal activity we've already got going on, but so much of the craziness that happened during the Summer of Love, during that time period, the whole fentanyl Floyd deal, people repealed laws, they, did all kinds of crazy stuff that just basically made it harder for cops to do their jobs and took laws off the books, all of that stuff. You are seeing community after community go, yeah, maybe that wasn't the brightest concept ever. Let's try just on the down low. Let's just try and, we're going to try and slide some of that law and order back in, and we'll just see how that goes. Just hope that, the Looney Tunes protesters don't really catch on. And for the most part, the exception I would say there is the protesters at Cop City in Atlanta. They're doing some work. Because I don't think they've got nothing else going on. Let's go protest at Cop City. And if you don't know that story, it's a $90 million police, basically academy-ish training center, big training center. And you had tree people living in the trees protesting. That seems to be the big protest area. We've got a few in Seattle protesting some ridiculousness, and we'll talk about that in a sec. California currently has an existing law that prohibits the use of grant funds to provide legal services to illegal immigrants who are appealing a conviction of a violent or serious felony. These are people who have been convicted of a violent crime. These are felons. We are talking about giving money in California to felons who are appealing their sentences. All right, but you've already had one conviction and you're illegal. So what else? I mean, I'm sorry. Again, excuse me? You're doing what? You say what? We're here. How? AB 2031 would remove the prohibition of those funds for those individuals. We just need to pull that out. We need to give money to everybody. We need to give money to inmates. I mean, we need to load up everybody. We need to do reparations. We need to give out money hand over fist. We need to give out tents. We need to give out generators. We need to give out, just add it to the list. Let's give it out. Let's make this happen. What else are we doing here? The bill would amend multiple acts in California's Welfare and Institutions Code relating to immigration services. That sounds great. That sounds. How California is still functioning, I do not know. AB 2031 would force California taxpayers to fund immigration services for anyone who can claim a nexus and intent to reside. You know what? I'm moving to Cali. Yeah, no shenanigans here. I'm going to move to California. Sean, do you have a conviction? Yeah, I do have that small issue of the conviction. But, Cali will take me. So, with intent to reside here, yes, I intend to reside in California. Can you send me some money, including violent criminals facing deportation? Laurel Powell, a California lawyer associated with Californians for Good Governance. I bet they are busy. Californians for Good Governance. They've got to be busy. There's so many of these Looney Tune things going on out there. Tomfoolery, just full of it. Proponents of the bill see this as a way for families to stay together while members are facing deportation. Yeah, but if one of your family members is a convicted murderer, rapist, whatever it might be, whatever crime your beloved family member decided to commit against a probably legal resident of the United States, then, I'm not really worried about them facing deportation. In fact, I encourage deportation in a case like that. So many of these cases that we're seeing of folks coming from Venezuela where they're just claiming, I came from a violent background. Okay, but I'm coming from poverty. So much of that, unless you've got a specific claim, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. So so many of these people are here illegally and they're just hanging out. And it should not work out for them in the long run. With, 8 million people or whatever it is, 16 million, 20 million, whatever you want to believe, whatever you want to calculate. Sean, that's not the number. Whatever you want to throw out there. These people are in the country, right? They're here. They're here and they're going to be here to stay for a long time. If not, conceivably long term. We eagerly and proudly champion the protection of human rights, civil rights, and racial justice for all immigrants, Camila Alvarez, legal director at Central American Resource Center, said. The recent introduction of the Rep 41 for All bill is a significant stride forward. And we're proud to support this crucial legislation that plays a pivotal role in safeguarding immigrants from deportation, ensuring access to legal representation, and addressing racial injustices in California. Man, I hope California gets a big surge of illegals, big surge of newcomers, just to kind of see what kind of shenanigans might happen. What could possibly go wrong? It's coming into summertime, though, so the weather's going to be a little bit better. I've seen reports that going to be a big weather system over Denver, big weather system hitting that part of the country. So that could be interesting. We're going to kick people out of the housing shelters and shutting down 4 housing shelters because we had that $180 million deficit here in Denver. And so we're going to shut down 4 of those bad boys right before a monster storm comes to town. That's some good thinking, guys. That's some good thinking. AB, that's just the number of the bill. AB 2031 is being heard in the Assembly Judiciary Committee tomorrow in Sacramento. And as far as I can tell, I don't have any other news that basically points to this thing has been shuttered, but except for that one video. But it's my understanding, all right, it'll be out there if it was, and there'd be some more news on it. But I think it happened so late that most news agencies are just like, we'll cover it tomorrow. And I'm podcasting it for you in the morning here. 11 a.m. my time, Seattle. I know from so many of you, you guys are way far ahead. So, yeah, that happened. That bill. It's the greatest thing ever. Until some reasonable people. What was the name? Californians for Good Governance. Man, they've got a lot of work to do. You've just got ridiculousness happening. All right. That's it for me on this one. This is a wild story. This is one of those bills where you hear about how did that come into action? It just kind of slides on in. Nobody says anything. Shh, it'll be fine. We'll just make this happen. They're good. They're mostly good, mostly law-abiding. Nah, they're convicted felons, but we want to get them some money anyway. So let's just do this. They may not even live in California. Hell, they don't even live in the United States legally. So who cares about California? But they've got intent. It's all about the intent, right? What was your intent? Well, it wasn't good, but we did it anyway. This is one of those stories. This is that story. So we'll be following up on this if there is anything to follow up. But I am hoping this thing just got rode into the ground. Did you hear about that, Bill? Yeah, can you believe that? Yes, I can. It's California. That's why we're doing news for reasonable people, because this is news for reasonable people, not insane people who want to see their state just absolutely get tanked like California has been. Interesting. All right. Thanks so much for being here on this one. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Love to have you subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now. Live stream people, don't go anywhere. We're still here. All right. Let's get into this one. Let's watch this one. So this is just kind of a segment we're going to do. All right. Let's see if I can find. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Okay, this encampment right here, burned to a crisp, absolute crisp. Andrea and I are here maybe 3 weekends ago. This was after we interviewed with Steve Irwin. He's Seattle's mining man. So we're walking through all this garbage and crap, and there's human crap. I think this is where I stepped in it because I got some on my shoes. Oh, look at this. And this is off to the left over here. This is Interstate 5. So you can literally see this as you're going by in Interstate 5. This is one of those encampment fires. So just walking through with Andrea. It's a live stream, so the quality's weak. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. And then this guy comes up behind us. Like, who are you? Yeah, go to the hospital. She's sick. Andrea, just let's get in there. Let's see what's going on. You know what? I'm sorry. You guys need that audio.
See if we can get permission.
All right. So here's where we were walking around, and Andrea and I going, or you're the pro here. I'm following your lead.
where we find the bodies, you know.
Yeah.
Often we come out and scout.
And you found 12
Bodies.
so far?
One man all the way down to his skeleton.
That was the one that was the garbage from from 2015.
Denver. Dexter. Yeah.
Terrible.
Anybody home?
There was just so much crazy crap in this encampment.
Human waste.
So we were getting close to the girl in the tent. How we doing? Who's this guy?
Hospital. They're sick.
Oh, hospital. Hospital.
Yeah.
What's the name? Let's go find out. We can get on the ambulance right now.
Andrea.
It's a woman. My name's Andrea.
So
Sorry.
somewhere down here,
Permission
there's a
to come
woman
in here.
in a tent.
We're gonna see if we can get permission to help you guys with your trash and maybe do some outreach. So, in fact, this is kind of startled out.
He's worried about the
Woman
chick
back there?
over here.
May we go and meet her and see if we can take her?
Nope, she's
we
good.
look at her?
He's fine.
What's your name?
Christina.
Christina. Okay. I mean, this is barbaric living conditions. Human waste, rotting food, explosives, generators, steps from I-5 on ramps.
Yeah. This is literally I-90 eastbound on I-5 right here. I-5 is right there.
You can smell the gas.
Oh, I can
actually, right
smell the gas.
now. Yeah.
That's good. That's nice.
So, thanks a lot, Jeremy, for giving us a heads up. Man, we got people coming in hot here.
So Jeremy had left us. He had the better. Jeremy from Como, Jeremy Harris. So that video, if you want to check that out, Sean Reynolds interviews Steve Irwin. And the reason I bring that up is because now we've got this story. Seattle homeless encampment goes up in flames. Let's see what that looks like. This is a follow-up a couple of weeks later.
On that gate and down the hill is exactly what outreach workers are concerned about. Multiple sources of fuel getting out of control and putting lives in danger. I spoke to one woman living in that encampment who says she's lucky to be alive.
My boyfriend, yeah, he woke me up, thank gosh.
This is her.
I sleep really soundly.
That's
so
her.
I would have been gone with the fire too.
Nina, whose full name we are not using nor showing her face, spoke with Fox 13 hours after the homeless encampment she was living in went up in flames.
The flames are already like 2 feet up on the ground. There's nowhere to step. You just jump over the flames, try to cover it with a blanket.
And that's when she said it spread. The flames ripped through the brush just off I-5, not far from Jose Rizal Park. The intensity causing multiple drivers to call 911. Here's audio from Citizen App.
Engine 13 received many calls
Look at
from
that
eastbound
fire.
90 people reporting an encampment fire up the hill.
After the flames were put out, Nina and her boyfriend. After the flames.
I'll show you something.
Fire
This-
up
this-
the hill.
After the flames.
So the green patch in the background there, the green patch right there, yeah, it's a dog walking park. You walk your dog there. Yeah. And there's an orchard in there. It's a city park. Now we've got excavator man. We've got mining man, Steve Irwin. He got cleared out, arrested, but he's back. He's back with a generator. And I don't know if he's in the same spot, but we've got some drama. So this bad boy clearly is gone. This tent encampment, and it was gnarly. It was just a gnarly tent encampment. Shenanigans were happening there. And a lot of you felt like, hey, was this young lady being sexually trafficked? Is this sex worker in there? What's going on? What's the deal? Now you know. Well, at least she's not there. But let's keep going.
Encampment fire up the hill.
After the flames were put out, Nina and her boyfriend returned to the burnt debris, propane tanks, and their makeshift shelter to salvage what they could. This small backpack was it.
Not sure, this might be the perfect opportunity to actually go and check in with the housing. Who knows?
While Nina contemplates her next.
This might be the perfect opportunity to go check in and look at some housing. Who knows? Literally is the quote. Who knows? When your home, when your abode burns to a crisp on the side of a freeway, and you've got human excrement, you've got propane tanks, you've got just all kinds of craziness going on. Yeah, that that might not be a bad idea to go check in with some housing. Just see what your options are. Just see what's out there before you get killed.
Steps, outreach workers and community organizations like We Heart Seattle are left in disbelief. So many times it has warned the city about encampments and the fire dangers they present.
They're ticking time bombs. These encampments are going to go up in flames.
Not only is We Heart Seattle concerned about the destruction of nature,
Literally.
it's also concerned about Nina, the 21-year-old whose living situation almost ended her life.
She needs daily contact, and we need to build trust with her, so we're not going to give up on her. But otherwise, you know, she's here and stuck here for a reason.
And despite those flames, fire response, and the loss of property, those living down in the encampment have already secured another tent, as well as gasoline to help them stay warm. In Seattle, Dave Detling, Fox 13 News.
Gasoline to stay warm. I'm sorry. I thought this whole story, the camp burns up, and you're telling me they've got gasoline now because they're going to run a generator and stay warm. Maybe they'll just pour it on some of the charbroiled trees and get that, get that barbecue action going for their whole encampment and just stay warm that way. Who knows, right? Just the whole, they got a tent now and they've got some more gasoline. This should work out fine. Meanwhile, Steve Irwin, he's, just up the hill now, and he's got a generator going. So I'm sure he's got some gasoline as well. So, this is the insanity of just letting people live willy-nilly wherever the F they want and on drugs. These people are on drugs. I mean, let's be honest. I'm not doing anything. I'm sober. Yeah, I don't think so, guys. You guys are just, you're out of your minds, whacked out on just who knows what. There's another couple. Let's look at this one.
My boyfriend. Yeah, he woke me up, thank gosh. Yeah, I sleep really soundly.
No, that was the same clip as the other one. There was a couple where we had, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, this gives a pretty good look at the devastation of the fire. Propane tank? Is that an oil filter? Yeah, here we go. Oh, barbecue? Propane tank. Propane tank. I mean, and cars whizzing by, just cars going by. What is that? Some kind of shrapnel metal. And then just scorched earth. And then scorched trees. Where are all of the environmentalists? Where are all the tree huggers in all of this? What are they doing? What are they saying with all of this? They're not saying much of anything, are they? No. I mean, so I wanted to kind of give you a quick update there. I mean, when Andrea Suarez says this is a ticking time bomb, this could literally explode in flames, she's not just running her mouth to get some sensational headline out there. This is literally what's happening. So I've walked you through an encampment. We literally walked into, I wouldn't have gone down there unless Andrea Suarez, I wouldn't have gone down there unless I was with Andrea. Because she, has a rapport with some of these people, and she's also been in these environments many times. Whereas I'm like, I don't really want to go in there. Where's the nice home to sell here? What home do I appraise here? Yeah, Sean, you're just going to have to avoid the human excrement on the ground. And we were literally walking on some type of elevated piece of wood to keep us off the mud. It was so bad in that area. And Jeremy Harris, he dipped out. We'd been there a long time. He dipped out and he's like, I got to go do something. Knowing that this encampment was just full of some Looney Tunes. And, it was literally a powder keg waiting to go off. And it did. So that's kind of, you hear all these people saying, just let them do their own thing. Let them live how they want. Well, you know what? This is what happens when you do just that and let a bunch of drug addicts run free and do whatever they want willy-nilly. This is literally the end result. Massive flames in in the side of Interstate 5, and somebody narrowly gets out with their life, and then they go back in, and yeah, it's insanity. It's shenanigans all the way around. All right. So speaking of shenanigans, and Tristan, let's run that as a segment on the private channel. Let's put that one there. I'll try and remember in the on the spreadsheet to indicate that. Here is another story. I'll show you guys real quick. Yeah, we've got a deal here. This is our next story. This is a deal here. Got a Washington King County sheriff is not enforcing the law because they feel it might be unconstitutional. You've got a King County sheriff, a person that has been appointed to their leadership role within the sheriff department, and they are questioning constitutionality of the city of Burion's laws. They contract with the city of Burien, and they're saying, no, we're not going to enforce this homeless encampment because we think it might be unconstitutional. Last I checked, sheriff's department, police department, they were responsible for, I don't know, enforcing the law. And if it's a law in the books, Burien has this law in their books that they just put on saying basically, get rid of all the homeless encampments. No can do here. We're not doing that here. Yeah, we've got a showdown. We've got a showdown. Let's do the intro and we'll get into this one. Washington County Sheriff's cut. And let's go with take two, Tristan. Washington County Sheriff tells deputies to not, I repeat, not enforce the law of a city's new homeless encampment legislation. They just put this into effect and they're trying to clean things up. They're trying to get back to normal. And King County, in their infinite wisdom, believes without any legal representation whatsoever, no court ruling, no ruling from a judge. Yeah, we're just not going to do that. Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's what we got going on here in King County, Washington, my county. Let's get into it. Here we go. Gotta get those buttons memorized. There's so many buttons. I had so many buttons sitting out in front of me. You know what? And we're gonna watch a little video. It's a good segment. Let's watch the segment.
I sure did, and he said that the sheriff's office gave his team no warning that they would be filing this federal lawsuit against their new camping ordinance, saying that he believes this comes down to politics.
Sorry, gotta redo.
I sure did, and he said that the sheriff's office gave his team no warning that they would be filing this federal lawsuit against their new camping ordinance, saying that he believes this comes down to politics.
And I think mainly this has become about politics over public safety.
Just hours after learning that the King County Sheriff's Office filed a lawsuit in federal court seeking a judge to determine the constitutionality of Burion's new camping ordinance, I sat down virtually with Mayor Kevin Schilling.
Constantine has been the county executive since 2009. Since then, we have had record homelessness, record drug overdoses, and continuous tax increases to fund programs that have not shown success.
Sheriff Patricia Cole-Tyndall defending her decision.
This is 100% my decision.
To sue Burien over the city's ban that would boot homeless encampments from within 500 feet of schools, libraries, and daycares.
Whether this particular ordinance...
King County, our executive, Dow Constantine, is just a tool. He is an ineffective tool. He is woke. He goes down. All of King County has all this woke nonsense. It's absolutely mind-blowingly ridiculous. He appointed that sheriff, the leader of the sheriff's department. He appointed, not sheriff's department, she appointed that sheriff, King County. So she is directly under him. And she is saying that it's her decision. No, it's not. Your superior, King County executive, Dow Constantine, told you, we're not going to do that one. We're not going to enforce that law because it doesn't really coincide with our belief system of wokeness for all. This is my county, and it's so backwards. It is so backwards.
Ordinance criminalizes things that people can't help, and in this case, that would be the fact that they're without housing.
Noting she has serious concerns about the exclusion zones, meaning for now, this downtown Burien sidewalk encampment is staying. Opponents of the ban say the city should provide better services and let the camps stay until they do. Supporters of the ban say it's necessary to control the effects from encampments, and the sheriff's office says a judge should sort it out.
In an ideal situation, there is collaboration. I will say with the city of Burien, we have not found that level of collaboration, and so at times things are more difficult.
I'm not really sure what their plans are to move forward, but my plan to move forward is to try to sit down with the sheriff's department, ensure that we have the right and ability to have our ordinance enforced.
And if this does move forward in federal court, it could take several months, if not weeks, for a judge to take any action. Now, the mayor did tell me that he has a meeting set for Wednesday with the sheriff's office, and he hopes that the two parties can come to some sort of an agreement. Live in Seattle, Hannah Knowles, KOMO News.
Oh, Mary, like you mentioned, friends and family have been coming out to lay flowers and candles outside.
Different story. All right. Tristan cut off that last little piece there. Yeah. So sheriff's department, are you enforcing the law, or what are you doing here? What do you got going on? Because are you trying to promote homelessness? Are you trying to promote drug addiction? Are you trying to promote the activities and the craziness that goes on with the encampments? Is that what you're trying to do? Because it kind of feels like that, because Burien is trying to work its way out. And what they've effectively done is they put a law in the books that has 500 feet from just about everything. They've essentially banned homelessness, except in a couple of areas. And I'm okay with that. It's your city. You can do what you want with it. And if you want to ban people doing drugs, sex trafficking, buying and selling stolen goods, if you want to ban that, and then, that's up to you. But then if you are contracting, in the city of Burien contracts with King County Sheriff's Department to enforce their laws, and then the Sheriff's Department just says, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that, because we're going to do this. Instead, we're going to sue, and we're going to say, oh, we don't believe that's constitutionally allowed. It's okay. Which way are we going? Are we just coming or going here? We'll look at that article, but Burien Mayor Kevin Schilling, we need to ensure that we're prioritizing treatment over tents and public safety over politics, so we can get folks off the streets and into shelter and services. That's the bottom line behind what spurred this new ordinance. And now you've literally got King County, and King County is so woke. I mean, it hurts. It's so bad. King County, Washington Sheriff had directed her deputies to not enforce the city of Burien order outlawing homeless encampments within 500 feet of locations like schools, parks, until the constitutionality of the order was resolved, without telling city officials. By the way, any of those laws that we just don't really like, yeah, we're not gonna enforce them. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, that whole thing with breaking into stores, guys, go ahead, just have a field day, just go do your thing. Go do your fentanyl Floyd deal. Just go ahead and take whatever you need. Just only set a few on fire, though, because not that many stores in Burien. And, I'm totally joking. And yet the bottom line is that's literally what we don't like that law, therefore we're not going to enforce it. Yeah, instead we're going to do a little lawsuit, and we're going to see what kind of shenanigans we can get into here. Because our contract with the city is to uphold their laws. And now, as a law enforcement, we're just going to pick which ones we want to enforce, pick which ones we don't want to enforce. That one's not a good one. No, we need the tent people to be able to do their thing. Now, Burien Mayor Kevin Schilling is examining the interlocal agreement between the city and county sheriff's office. Schilling said if he determines the agreement was broken, he would consider establishing a city-run police department. If the contractors you're working with aren't doing the job, which is their job is to uphold the law, then yeah, you might need a little redo action on that bad boy, right? Burien City Council adopted a new ordinance on March 4th, which prohibits people from sleeping overnight on public property from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day if a shelter, bed, or treatment facility is available. Totally reasonable. This notion of just people have the right to live wherever the F they want is so whacked, is so bad. for so many different components of not only society, but the lives of those who are living there. We just watched what happens when a tent encampment burns up, right? I mean, that Nina got out alive, right? So many of these folks, there's crazy stuff that happens to them. And you're hearing all kinds of stories about what's happening to the females in these encampments. It's not good. You know, everybody's girlfriend is the term, right? Camping on public property is also prohibited during daytime hours under the new law. Burien has gone ham. They have gone ham on establishing guidelines that says, no muss. We're not doing that anymore. This is what we're doing. And now their law enforcement is, yeah, not so much. Nah, we're going to have to wait. Got to wait for a judge's ruling because, you know, in our infinite wisdom, because we're legal scholars. I mean, sheriff is the damnedest nearest thing to, I don't know, Supreme Court judge, right? I mean, they're side and side. How this comes down, here's how it comes down. King County Executive Dow Constantine says, that's not legal. You go get him, Tiger, tells the sheriff. Yeah, we're not enforcing. And that's what happens. When the new ordinance was pushed, the city said on its website that it was collaborating closely with King County Sheriff's Office and service partners to ensure outreach and services were offered before the code is enforced. Totally normal. Yep, okay. So now it's law. All right, boys and girls, go do your job, clear those people out, and let's get going here. City also said that King County Sheriff's Office understands that the code cannot be enforced without first verifying that a shelter, bed, or treatment facility is available. King County Sheriff Patty Cole Tyndall on Friday, that was the woman we heard speaking, who's basically saying, that's my decision. No, it wasn't your decision. That was Dow Constantine. She told her deputies to not enforce the ordinance, according to internal documents obtained by Fox News contributor Jason Rantz, KTTH, here in Seattle, citing concerns over the constitutionality of the new law. Are we just going to pick and choose laws that we want to enforce? Is that what we're going to do? I mean, in these states, in these areas where things are a little wonky, and by wonky, I mean really woke, seems like that's the deal, right? We have strong concerns on whether the terms of this ordinance are constitutional based on the existing legal authority, Cole Tyndall said, Rance is reporting for KTTH. All right, so you're just going to do your thing. Okay. There's another picture of Andrea Suarez here with a tent underneath. I think, was this under the I-90 on-ramp? It's somewhere really close there. Yeah, just a bunch of garbage. I'm sure needles, human waste. Yeah, but I'm sure that's, you know, the new law violates constitutionality somehow. I mean, what are you getting at? I mean, where are you going with this? Why don't you just sweep up the damn encampments and, you know, get people kind of going where they need to, which is a shelter somewhere, right? I do not want any of you to find yourself in a situation where you're asked or expected to do something that could violate legally established rights. Rightio. Yep, the sheriff wrote in an email obtained by the station, I am directing you that we will not enforce this particular section of the Burien Municipal Code until the constitutionality of the public camping ordinance is resolved. What's to resolve there? Just go and enforce it. You know what I mean? You got the real issue we've got here kind of behind this is that we've got some pretty major cases going on. The Boise case is kind of the big one about where people can camp, you know, urban camping style, if there is shelter available or where they can't. You've got some pretty big cases going on. And based on how those go, I think a lot of this will determine, you know, how things move forward. But in the case of Burien, they're just, you know, they've got a law in the books that would help their citizens immensely and also help their town hall, because that's where these tents are literally stacked up right there. Cole Tyndall did not make Burien city officials aware of the decision, including shilling. Just, yeah, not going to enforce it. Yeah. Hey, there's some tents over there. Could you clear them out? I mean, that's your job. You are law enforcement. This violates, you know, our recent law. Could you clear them out? Nope. Any particular reason you won't clear them out? No, I mean, you know, constitutionality. Like, all right. Okay. This is what we're doing? Interesting. Makes you want to move to Burien, doesn't it? Where is Burien? Burien's south of Seattle. What is it? South by 10 miles, dozen miles, something like that. I mean, how would I describe Burien? It's outside of city limits. It's got some affordable real estate. It's within close proximity to commuting distance. It's a little suburb. It's a suburb that's been there for a long, long time. It's got a little downtown, not huge, but they kind of do their own thing. And there used to be affordable housing there, but a lot of that's gone. 600,000-700,000 is not uncommon now. If you can find something there, I'm totally guessing. I haven't looked at Burien in a long time. If you could find something under 500, and maybe you can find a little bit more between 400 and 500, but it's one of those type areas that's just been, kind of run over value wise because everything else in downtown Seattle and all the big core areas, Bellevue, have just gotten so expensive. And you've got a fair number of homeless people. You've got homeless people not only in the Burien community, the Kent community, which is another kind of bigger suburb. You've got Kent, and then you've got Tukwila, and you've got homeless people and migrants now. It's going to be our next topic is migrants had a big protest in King County Courthouse and at a Seattle City Council meeting. We're going to talk about that. They basically took over Seattle City Council meeting. Shenanigans. Just got shenanigans here in the Pacific Northwest all day long. So the county executive and sheriff's office did not immediately respond to inquiries from Fox News Digital on the matter. Interesting. Why would that be? Well, because they tried to do a little side swipe and they just don't really care, right? They just don't really give a rat's ass. That's what we're doing. Yeah, that law, not so much. We don't need to follow that. I mean, look at this. Look at this beautiful Pacific Northwest tree-lined street, right? You got a formal concrete curb here, and you got a bunch of tents. You got a bunch of just shenanigans going on. People pulling up, selling drugs. People pulling up, putting their girls in people's tents. But no, don't enforce those laws. Don't enforce those laws. We need to keep this all going. The sheriff was appointed by King County Dow Constantine, a move granted by voters in 2021. Yep. And that's what you get. When you get a King County executive that makes the moves, that is what happens, right? The whole thing just goes sideways. King County Sheriff seeks legal judgment on Burien's controversial homeless camping ban. I mean, yeah, let's watch this segment. This segment's, as I remember, it had some interesting stuff.
Side of her business. Now you can tell that Reina was loved by many, and now her sister tells me all.
No, can't find that segment. What happened to that segment? What happened to that video? Tristan will cut all this out. Let's go with the outro here. So if you ever wonder how a community ends up with just some chaos, Burien, you're looking at it. Hey, we put a law in the books that we feel will help not only the community, but get the people living in tents into the shelters, into the detox centers, into treatment, wherever it might be that they need to be, because they certainly don't belong in a tent on the sidewalks in downtown Burien. But this is how that whole thing just goes wildly sideways. You've got somebody that's woke that thinks, oh no, we got to let them live wherever they want. This might be unconstitutional. And you're like, okay, all right. And you know what? In court system here in the Pacific Northwest, the judge will probably say that it's unconstitutional, and Burien will just have to eat it and basically just come up with something else. All right, so what is going to be constitutional? But it's insanity when you get to a point where you're literally talking about sweeping homeless people who are living illegally, just willy-nilly, wherever, just doing their thing with all the craziness that brings. And you've got somebody that wants to clean that up and they're not able to because law enforcement says it might be constitutionally no-go. And welcome to my world here in the Pacific Northwest. You got these stories that are happening all day long. Because you got a bunch of people who are, they think they're do-gooders, but instead what they're doing is just destroying the fabric of society by, let them live wherever. Let them live wherever. It's crazy. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting. Love to have you subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next segment. Bye for now. Live stream people, what do we got going on there? Willy-nilly count 3. Yeah, seeing a lot of insanity is constitutional. Yeah, shenanigans apparently are constitutional, aren't they? Just so much stuff going on where you sit back and you go, that's just weird. I just want to live my own life here and do my own thing and not have to worry about this craziness. But there's so much craziness just happening. And what's so interesting is I have people come into my office all the time and they're not aware of this stuff. And every now and then they'll realize that, not only do I run a real estate brokerage, but I also run an appraisal company. They're coming in for one of those things and they'll be like, hey, Sean, I saw that story you did. And I'm like, which one? The one on, And they'll invariably say, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was going on. Yeah, there's a whole world out there of craziness going on. And, one of the themes that I've lately kind of been thinking about is I think the state of Colorado, I think Denver within Colorado, they have surpassed the crazy shenanigans that our state legislature and our local representatives, they've surpassed just the nuttiness of what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. It used to be, San Francisco, and then you had Seattle, and Portland's always been a strong contender for just, crazy people doing crazy things, and then crazy representatives saying, it's all good, you guys are great, they keep Portland weird. But I'm seeing more and more come out from Colorado and from Denver. I mean, some of the stuff that they're that folks are coming up with there is literally, you're like, I'm sorry, what? You're doing what? And then you've got other cities. I was talking with somebody in the premiere this morning at 9:00 Seattle time. We do a premiere and I'm on there so I can live chat with people. And somebody was saying, yeah, Aurora, and I was talking about the city of Aurora, which is in close proximity to Denver, and they basically don't want any of the sanctuary city styled ridiculousness because they know they can't pay for it. They know they can't afford it. And yet you've got these big cities. Denver has a $120 million deficit. So now they're in the process of closing down 4 big encampments set up for the newcomers. And now you've got a big snowstorm coming. That should be fine. It should work out just great. It should be okay, though, don't you think? I mean, big snowstorm, people living outside. Yeah, that's what you got going on. And here in King County, here in Burien, not much different, right? Not much different. All right, let's tee up the next segment here. Yeah. Before I do my intro, I'm kind of getting my thoughts together on this one. See what we got going. You guys having a good Taco Tuesday? It's Taco Tuesday. You need to eat a taco. Just one, though. Maybe 2. Maybe you get the platter. You get the 3 platter taco meal. Yeah, my $30 burrito. Just not doing that anymore. I haven't had a $30 burrito. I never did have a $30 burrito. It was an $18 burrito with less fees from La Palmera in Seattle. But since they've jumped it up to, it's about $30. No go on that. But I might have a taco. Who knows? But in dining, though, I mean, we're not doing that takeout stuff anymore. We're not even, no delivery, I guess is bottom line. No delivery. Let's do the intro. Tristan, here we go. Illegal immigrant protesters or newcomers, they basically shut down a Seattle City Council meeting demanding housing help for refugees. Now, the ironic thing here is that the city of Seattle had already contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to help out the immigrants, and the immigrants are actually not living in the city of Seattle. They're living in suburban communities. but they go to the Seattle City Council meeting because somebody told them that's where you need to go. Let's get into this craziness. Here we go. Let's watch a little video. This is the meeting. So you've got some Looney Tunes that went to a meeting and they did their thing. And some of the other backstory is the woman that you're going to hear is Sarah Nelson. She is the new Seattle City president of the council, and she is very moderate, and she is not having any of the shenanigans of protesters in Seattle City Council meetings, whereas in the past when we had Shama Sawant and a number of other very progressive people on the Seattle City Council, they were all pro, protest. Come on in, this is the greatest thing ever. Well, now we're doing arrests, and we're thinking about doing maybe prosecuting some of these folks. Here we go.
Is now out of recess. It is 2:54 p.m. The audience will come.
We're on.
Okay, the meeting is now out of recess. It is 2:54 p.m. The audience will come to order. The president has asked the meeting to come to order, and order has not been restored. The room will be cleared, and once cleared, the meeting will continue in session. Only members of the media are allowed to remain in the room, and those who did not participate in the disturbance. Security, would you please clear the room?
Take the lowlifes out. Get them out. Protesters out.
It is 2:55. We will go into recess until 3:10.
So what you had there is they were coming off of, they already had their meeting, had massive amounts of protests, and then they shut her down for an intermittent, for a recess, and they brought security in and they brought cops in. And so this was that, all right, we're clearing out the room now. No more of this ridiculousness. You guys are out of here. You guys are out of here. Protesters disrupt Seattle City Council meeting demanding housing help for refugees. Let me do that again, Tristan, so you've got that all on one screen there. Protesters disrupt Seattle City Council meeting demanding housing help for refugees. Group of protesters disrupted a Seattle City Council meeting Tuesday afternoon demanding city fund temporary housing for refugees who are once again facing eviction. City of Seattle previously paid for just under a month of housing for the refugees from Latin America who have bounced around from a church in Tukwila to hotels in South King County for the last few months. A group marched on the steps of Seattle City Hall Tuesday and into the council chambers, chanting and requesting the city use police funding for housing for their housing needs. So they want to defund the police and give it to the illegal immigrants not living in Seattle. That's the bottom line. Because City of Seattle had already ponied up money. But now you've got these people coming from other areas, notably Kent and Tukwila. And because they know Seattle has money, bottom line, some of what you're seeing here, these are Stop the Sweeps. These are basically Antifa in various different colors. You've got these people that you'll also see them at the pro-Palestine rallies. You'll see the same people. They're just up for a good cause. And so this one, they basically shut down the Seattle City Council meeting so that they could get their message heard. Seattle City Council President Sarah Nelson started the meeting saying the city has an obligation to taxpayers to provide housing for people in need in Seattle, like the homeless along 3rd Avenue. That's the blade that I always talk about. 3rd Avenue between Pike and Pine, that's the blade, and anywhere in that area is just an absolute shenanigans show. And the Chinatown International District. Chinatown International District is just down the hill from where that homeless encampment fire that I showed you earlier in this live stream happened. So you go down, go over that I-90 on-ramp, and you are literally in the Chinatown International District. And you've got people in tents living all over. It's horrific. And then in Ballard, where Sarah Nelson, the Seattle City Council member, the president, that's where her business is, Fremont Brewing. You've had all kinds of crazy homeless encampment stuff. Remember Lawnmower Man? That was in Ballard. That was in the Ballard area of Seattle. So Sarah Nelson said discussions about refugee funding need to happen at the county and state level because there are such limited resources the city has. But they went after the city because the city used to be responsive to protesters. Not anymore. Not anymore. I'd say there's a new sheriff in town, but there's a new president of the Seattle City Council, and she's playing it by the books. And she got about six of them arrested. Good for her. I'm totally down with that. Arrest anybody you need to. Don't care. The commotion forced city council members to leave the chambers and take a recess. Seattle police arrived at the scene about 2:55 and spoke with some protesters in the chambers as refugee families waited outside. The council eventually resumed their proceedings. I mean, what a way to get your point across. Let's go ahead and defund the police, because we've shown what a genius concept that is. Let's give some of those funds to the illegals that are here illegally, but need to be housed and whatnot anyway. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've got shenanigans happening just in so many ways, shapes, and forms. And so city of Seattle, this isn't even their province of where we're talking about. People are being evicted. And yet, because they're the big city around, and they've been very pro-protester in the past. Remember when Shama Sawant, she let Antifa and Black Lives Matter into these very chambers at like 10:30 at night during CHOP. Let's just go have a kumbaya moment in Seattle City Council, in their building, and this will be fine. It should be all good. I mean, that was just straight up illegal, right? So in the past, city of Seattle has been very pro-protester. But, coming off of the craziness of the summer of love with Fentanyl Floyd, things have changed. You got to bring some law and order back. You have to have some reasonable people do reasonable things, because that is literally what you've got going on here. And you've got a handful. You notice there isn't any arguing between the city council president and the other members, because the vast majority of the other members, there's 9 of them, they are more reasonable. They're like, we're trying to get something done. I'm not saying any of them are Republican or Republican leaning, but they are certainly more moderate than being a straight up socialist of America, right? Just a commie. Seattle police said that they arrested 6 people after they were warned and refused to stop. Hey, stop your protesting. Stop. To have to tell somebody that, you know what I mean? Officers arrested 3 men and 3 women for criminal trespassing. One of the men was also charged with obstruction of justice. Police said all 6 people were booked into the King County Jail. Police also noted that many others in the chambers left without any issues. All right. So, the vast majority of them probably did. But the Stop the Sweeps people, they're the ones that got arrested. And then let's go to here. Seattle City Attorney weighing charges against protesters who derailed the council meeting. Let's hear what Jeremy Harris has to say. And Jeremy, you dipped out, Andrea and I, in that dangerous homeless encampment. Whew, yeah. Yeah, he had something to do as we're just, wandering around in some human poop.
Is also reviewing its protocols for what to.
Sorry, here we go.
Well, prosecutors right now are reviewing what criminal charges these protesters may face, but the council itself is also reviewing its protocol.
Numero trace. Here we go.
Well, prosecutors right now are reviewing what criminal charges these protesters may face, but the council itself is also reviewing its.
I'm sorry. I got to take off those ridiculous closed captions. Off. Numero cuatro. Here we go.
Well, prosecutors right now are reviewing what criminal charges these protesters may face, but the council itself is also reviewing its protocols for what to do when protesters disrupt their meetings and, in this case, shut it down. It was banging and screaming that derailed this week's Seattle City Council meeting. We're not sorry! We're not sorry! Activists demanding the council pay to house migrant families in Tukwila and Kent. When they were told no, they shut down the meeting.
Our physical safety is being threatened by the actions of the demonstrators outside, banging on the windows, which could easily get broken, and we will have a mob scene. I'm asking for police presence to arrest those individuals.
Tuesday crossed the line.
Today, Council President.
You wouldn't have heard a council member say that kind of thing when you had Shama Sawant and a bunch of these other nut jobs on the Seattle City Council. You wouldn't have heard, they would have been shouted down. It would have been just chaos, pandemonium. And essentially what you had is you had a rogue city council, but now you've got this fine young lady who is reasonable, in my opinion, and she is saying no to this ridiculousness in Seattle.
President Sarah Nelson said the council staff is looking at protocols for if this happens again.
But what is new is that I'm not going to allow it to disrupt our meetings so that we can't continue with the business of the people.
Police arrested 6 of the protesters, but jail records show they were quickly bailed out by the Northwest Community Bail Fund. Prosecutors say they are reviewing charges, which could be the first time in a while that council chamber outbursts lead to criminal charges.
We cannot let the business of the city be derailed by these kinds of protests.
Nelson says the council has sympathy for the refugees in Tukwila and points out the city of Seattle previously paid to help house them in a hotel. And King County just dropped $1 million to support the refugees this week.
The people that were removed from chambers were local activists who were using this issue of what was going on in Tukwila as a vehicle to press their own agenda.
Well said.
We know some of those protesters who were arrested are affiliated with a group called Stop the Sweeps Seattle. The Seattle City Attorney's Office told me that their prosecutors are looking that over right now, but they will likely make a decision soon on what charges, if any, will be filed in court. Reporting outside City Hall, Jeremy Harris, Como News.
Everybody, happy Monday. Unfortunately, off to a rough start.
I don't think there was anything else all that wildly exciting on this one. Let me just check this one out real quick. Nope. We're going to go with, so we got that screen. Yeah, they're going to target, yeah, we'll talk about that. Tristan, cut all that ridiculous stuff and let's go with Sean's earphones are off. So will Seattle's new president, Sarah Nelson, will she become the target for just the beatdown by these protesters? You know? Probably, because these protesters have been used to getting their way. We've had such a liberal, such a woke. I mean, to call the Seattle City Council woke would be just a wild understatement. I mean, we literally had Socialists of America, whatever that organization is. Shama Sawant was a bona fide member. She was a card-carrying socialist member. And her agenda was, you know, tax Amazon, take from the rich, give to the poor, all this crazy stuff. I mean, I did podcasts back in the day on just the utter lunacy and shenanigans that Seattle had going on. Now you've got Sarah Nelson. So now it's like there's a new principal, right? There's a new sheriff in town. And so these folks are going to have to get used to that. So one of the big questions is will they press charges? And I have not seen anything on actually pressing charges. I would guess no. I would guess no. But if I think the Seattle City Council will have all right, let's figure out what we do moving forward. What does that look like? And, maybe there's some coordination there with prosecutor's office. I don't know, on actually, charging these folks with disrupting a city council meeting, which should be happening on the regular. It happens elsewhere. Things get shut down, take the bad apples out. And what's so crazy about this one is that this isn't even the city of Seattle's fight. This isn't the city of Seattle's battle. It's a bunch of protesters coming in, stop the sweeps protesters, who are just, protest damn near anything. You got a cause, we're your guys and gals. We'll help you out. I mean, they don't really care. They just want to protest, right? They want to bring their umbrellas. They want to whack their umbrellas on Jonathan Cho and tell him he's a terrible human being. They want to, just do crazy stuff. And when there's a cause like this, we've got the migrants being kicked out down in Tukwila and Kent. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? These are people that came into the country illegally, took a bus ride from wherever to get to here. And so that was part of one of the reasons I wanted to bring up this podcast, because I don't talk a lot about the illegal immigrants here in Seattle, but we've got them. We've got them, just not a ton of them, because I think geographically we're pretty far away from where they're coming in on that southern border. There's some coming through the northern border, but not a lot, because, that whole getting through the U.S. thing. If you're going to come up through Central or South America, then you're clearly going to use the southern border somehow. But if you can fly into somewhere in Canada, that's where some of the migratory patterns, I guess you're going to call them now. But Seattle does have their issues with the illegal immigrants, and this is that perfect example of, all right, so they're getting kicked out. Why Seattle? Well, we heard why Seattle, because they were told, go to Seattle. Number one, they'll listen to you, and they got the bigger pockets of anybody else around, right? Seattle City Council Incorporated. They've got money. Yes, they do. They've got money. How about you? Used to be a chant at Mercer Island High School, very wealthy high school, when I was in high school, and the parents would pull out hundreds, and they'd be getting trounced. This is old Mercer Island versus Bellevue story. They'd be getting trounced by whatever high school around them because they just weren't good, way back in the day. Then they became pretty good. They'd pull out $100 bills and go, we've got money. Yes, we do. We've got money. How about you? And not very sympathetic to those that are, don't have a lot of money, but crazy stuff. Rich people do crazy stuff, right? It's like, okay, what kind of example is that sending to your kids? Seattle's got the money. These other communities don't. So the protesters follow the money. And so now maybe we're going to be following them to jail. Another piece I'll share with you is there was rumor, there was talk about the reason that Steve Irwin, Seattle's mining man, logger, miner, I mean, he's a Renaissance man. Let's be honest. Steve Irwin, he might have been mining, but he was a Renaissance man. He's building his own place. He's living off the grid. Well, I mean, kind of. You got that power line that he jacked from the city power pole, but you can't worry about those kind of details. Got to give the guy credit. When he got arrested, there was rumors that the bail bond fund had just spent all their money on the bail to bail out these 6 people. And didn't have any more money for Steve, and that's why Steve was in jail for as long as he was. But don't worry, he's back now, and he's back in the park. And I literally, like I said earlier, got a text from Andrea Suarez saying, Steve's got a generator. Steve's back, and he's got a generator. I mean, what could be better than that? I'll go over there and take another look. I mean, I'll wander down and see what Steve's got going on. But the protesters in City of Seattle Council meeting, will that come to an end? That kind of interaction come to an end if a couple of people get arrested and prosecuted? Yeah, that will definitely dampen what they perceived to be, which was an opportunity at any given whatever it is, whether it's stop the sweeps, homeless encampment sweeps, or, we need more money for the migrants, or defund the police, or any of these just incredibly genius shenanigans they want to come up with that don't really do anything. I mean, they did many negative things during the Summer of Love, but they don't have a positive impact that I can see. And, Seattle is just trying to conduct its business. This wasn't even a topic of discussion in the Seattle City Council meeting. It wasn't on board at all. They just came down, busted up the meeting, got interrupted multiple times. Handful of them got arrested. It's what we're doing in Seattle, because that's just Seattle. It's Freeattle. Crazy stuff. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for supporting. Love to have you subscribe. The very best way you can support the channel is to share this content out. Take that little share symbol and share that content out. Just a video every now and then. It really helps the algorithm, because then YouTube realizes, oh, okay, they're sharing this content. It's got to be good, right? It's got to be decent. All right. That's it for me. I'll see you on the next segment. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up with you soon. Bye for now. People in the live chat, I'm going to check in with you, see what is going on. See if I can get this live chat to go a little bit bigger. Top chat. Let's look through and see what you guys. Yeah, so many of these shenanigans count 12. That's solid work, right? But you got to remember that's 3 different segments that'll go onto YouTube. There's so many different things that are coming out, and I go down to Texas and I kind of look around there and I see what's happening there. It is so wildly different than the constituents you have here. It's like it's flipped. Everybody down in Texas is, for the most part, kind of normal. You got the people in the little cities, the border towns. They're all people that have, legally migrated into the United States. And then for the most part, they are all, they're going to be on the border towns. They're going to be Democrat, and you're going to have Democrat mayors because that's the constituency. But for the rest of Texas, outside of these big liberal cities, you got a lot of people that are pretty reasonable, pretty normal. And yet in the state of Washington, we've got a lot of just nut jobs and just crazy people. And the protesters here in the state of Washington, protesters in the state of in Oregon, are very strong. They've got funding. They are organized. They come out when you and I are doing family stuff, whatever that means. You're doing life responsible stuff. These folks are at meetings. They're at rallies. They're doing stuff. They're very active civically. Is that even a word? From a civic standpoint, they're very active. How about that? But yeah, that ratio of protesters to, just regular people is flipped in Washington versus Texas. So when I was down at the Take Our Border Back rally that kind of worked its way down from about 5 miles away north of Eagle Pass, and some of those people, the rally goers, came down to Eagle Pass, Texas. There were some protesters. There were some, I wouldn't say they were Antifa, but they're kind of along those lines. But those people were the exception. And their major chant was, "It's our river too." And we had Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. He had multiple weekends where he came to Eagle Pass and did these big speeches. And so the protesters there, but the protesters there are just kind of looked at as this weird anomaly. Like, what are you doing? It's your river too. Oh, well, don't you want to keep your river secure as well? I mean, what do you got going on? You encouraging, illegal people to just come across? That's what they were doing. They were pushing back on the barbed wire that Greg Abbott had installed. Okay, all right. But their voice was very small. In Seattle, the flip is the occurrence. And right now, in what Seattle's got going on, it's this push and pull. Like how much more are we going to work on as far as how much are we going to let these protesters kind of continue running things, because they have for so long. And there's really nobody that's been up until this date willing to step in and say, gosh darn it, no, you guys are done. We're arresting you. We're hauling you out. You guys are you're out of here. There's so much stuff like that happening in the Pacific Northwest because we've been tolerant of it and we voted in a lot of these people. Can we overcome it? No, my area is they're hosed. We're hosed. I mean, it is what it is. It's a Democratic cesspool, right? Let's be honest. Parts of Seattle. Bellevue, still very Democrat, but it's reasonable. We didn't defund our cops. We didn't go down that road. And the big difference is Bellevue's just got a lot of money. You know, they're those pricks that are, we got money. Yes, we do. We got money. How about you? That's Bellevue, right? On a big scale of things. But it also means people here run businesses. You know, you got a lot of Microsoft, you got a lot of Amazon, you got a lot of big companies here. And they tend not to bite on those shenanigans. Whereas in Seattle, whereas in Denver, San Francisco, they certainly do. So today's live stream and today's podcast, they were kind of giving you a little highlight of, hey, what's going on out there? Starting down with Cali, then moving up to King County, and then moving specifically to Seattle. So I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to go do some business stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Today is Tuesday. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye for now. Thanks all.